Hello, this is Lady T. I had this really interesting dream this morning and I wrote a few notes about it, but it just didn't seem to have much meaning at the time that I was writing about it. Well, that's not true. I always believe that our dreams are a manifestation of our subconscious. And so I was listening to a prophetic dream by a man on YouTube. Somebody had forwarded it to me, and as I was listening to him speak, his name is Hank Kunneman, and the prophetic dream was on 11/6 of 2020. This video is on the Soul Prosper channel on YouTube, SOUL, Prosper, as in prosperous. I highly recommend the video. He was speaking directly about the president, this election, and not to believe the false reports that we're receiving in the media. That's just one point, and I so agreed with him. But as I was listening, I realized that the dream that I had this morning actually was probably very significant. There were many aspects to the dream, but the one thing that I'm going to share about is that my dream contained bees, a conversation about bees. There was a woman who was speaking to me in the dream, and she was telling me about the bees, that they were helping to get water to places, and they were burrowing underground. Now, I thought that was very strange, because I'd never even heard that there might be bees underground. So while the prophet was speaking, I actually went and did a quick Google search, and sure enough, there are ground bees. Now, when I was in college, one of my favorite classes was a Shakespeare class, and before each class, when we were discussing one of the plays, I would go to the library and I would listen to a recording of the play, and I would take notes about my impressions. It was easier for me to listen to the voices talking because I could differentiate between the voices. When you're reading Shakespeare, sometimes there are so many characters that if you're not familiar with who all of them are, you spend more time looking at who they are speaking than you do just getting the context of the play. So I found that was a really helpful way to prepare for the class. And what I love about Shakespeare is that he writes on so many different levels. When he was writing a play, he was writing to multiple audiences. He was writing to the impoverished who were there on the ground. He was speaking to the middle classes. He was speaking to royalty. So he was literally writing metaphors, allegories, and multiple levels. And we would spend the time during class sort of picking apart what some of the passages could be talking about. I found it fascinating, and that's kind of the way my brain thinks in multiple levels. So I'm listening to this Hank Kunneman speaking, and I actually paused it to go write notes, because all of a sudden I started realizing that the bees could represent multiple things. The first thing I thought about were the silent majority who are underground, who are kind of under the surface. They're not making waves. They're not stinging anyone, metaphorically. They are just sort of underground. I also immediately went to the underground tunnels, the deep underground military bases that our special operations have been sort of routing out all the human trafficking that's been going on, where the children and the vulnerable adults are being held. The underground cities where the cabal, the deep state, the evil forces who have been running our country from evil and dark and shadowy places, the shadow government, if you will. Now, some people will call this, the last statement I made, a conspiracy theory. However, it has been going on. It is going on, and President Trump and this special operations team is routing it out. They are destroying the human trafficking networks, the pedophiles, the satanic forces who are doing satanic ritual abuse on children and vulnerable adults, who are extracting horrible things and selling it around the world like a drug. It is a drug. They have been torturing, abusing, harming, murdering children and vulnerable people for their own pleasures. They believe it is the right thing to do in their minds, in their world, and that is the way they are sacrificing to their god, Lucifer. So, anyway, I return to this. Conspiracies, the term conspiracy theory was actually brought about by the CIA, who did not want people to start looking into the truth about what they themselves were doing. And so they systematically came up with that term, and every person who was getting close to the truth or trying to expose the truth, they would discredit them, make them sound like they're nuts, like they're the last people you should be talking to, thinking about, or listening to. So I want to strongly encourage you to set that term aside in your thinking. Now back to the bees. As I was looking at this, I was taking some notes. As I mentioned earlier, the bees could represent the underground Christians, those who have gone quiet. They are silent. It could also be the silent majority of people who are terrified to actually speak about their support for President Trump, because they are afraid they will be persecuted, they will be hunted, they will be tortured, they will be bullied, they will be fired. Whatever they're worried about, they're living in fear. Now, as I also mentioned, this could refer to the children who are underground. It could also refer to the cabal itself, because they have been tunneling down in secret. Now, after World War II ended, the Nuremberg trials went on. There were many people who were convicted. However, there was a contingent of scientists, and many people believe even Hitler himself faked his death and went to Argentina, South America. We now know that there were children produced, and so we know that there are two definite daughters, and a third who I'll leave that for another video. But she's the mother of someone very prominent who came to prominence in this country. Now, the cabal, things in the occult, the term occult means that which is hidden. So they like to mirror things that are going on. I'm just going to use the terms good and bad. Those are very sort of loose terms, but for purposes that will be easier to understand, I'm just going to refer to the good. The cabal likes to mirror things that are going on in the world of the good, and they twist it for their own purposes in their world of the bad. So I looked at this on 3 or 4 levels, maybe more than that, and I felt like it could also be the cabal tunneling underground, trying to keep things hidden, not letting people even know that they exist. Now, what I found interesting about the dream is that there was a phrase that I wrote down. They are helping get water to places. Okay. So, water has been a term that's been used in the Trump presidency. There are a group of us that look at the codes that he sends, and there is someone that we believe to be very closely associated with this team who is destroying the pedophile networks, human trafficking, and helping the president to drain the swamp, in quotation marks. The swamp is referring to the evil, the corruption, the cabal, the deep state, the shadow government. Now, he mentioned in this research that we're doing the term watch the water. So as we know, in the election, there was a watermark put on the ballots. One of the ways they tried to steal the election was to create new ballots. Those new ballots did not have the watermark. So any of those ballots were fraudulent. So that's one way that the watch the water is referring. However, watching the water for me takes on many, many, many meanings. The children were being distributed throughout the Caribbean. We know about Jeffrey Epstein's island, Little St. James. Well, we also know that Biden has an island nearby. We know that Johnny Depp has an island nearby. We know that Ghislaine Maxwell has a submarine pilot license, and or a submarine license, I should say, to pilot and drive those ships under the water. So, Disney Cruise Line also made trips to the Caribbean. So water, for me, is a way that they were trafficking children. There are underground tunnels from Antarctica over to the continents, to New Zealand, to Australia, over to the lower echelons of South America. So there are underground tunnels throughout the United States and every country. All this was going on. There were things going on with space technology going on underground. The tunnels, literally, there are underground tunnels from Walmarts. So they were using underground tunnels to traffic children throughout the United States. There was a route I heard in one decode somewhere up in the Northeast that was literally, the trucks didn't know what they were carrying. They were doing all of their route underground from the Northeast down to Raleigh, and in one particular scenario. So these things have been going on. They are being destroyed, all these networks. Some of the fires in California are these tunnels being destroyed. Some of these fires were burning the trees from inside, so they were not being caused by the normal sources of fires. So you can be sure these evil practices are being destroyed, and that is something President Trump made very clear, that he was committed to ending human trafficking, child trafficking, pedophile networks. And these networks have been going on for so long. Epstein sort of broke open the tip of the iceberg, but this was just one piece of it. The blackmail that was going on to keep people in place. The blackmail that has caused people in our government to do things that are illegal, do things, they are participating in horrendous crimes against humanity. That is why they hate Trump so much, because he could not be bought. He was not participating in the things that they were participating in, and they absolutely want to destroy him because they know that his intention is to bring it all down and get this country and the world back to truly being free and to have the inalienable rights that we were promised. People in this nation have been literally asleep. They have been giving over their rights without even realizing it. This election is bringing all of that to the forefront, to awaken people to what has been going on. I was watching a video yesterday by a woman named Janet, I hope I'm saying her last name right, Ossebard, O-S-S-E-B, like boy, A-A-R-D. She did a series of videos some time ago called The Fall of the Cabal. There were 10 videos, very easy to watch, very well done. And some people combine them to make one long video. I happen to watch them all in succession as 10 individual videos, and I truly love them. You can find it. I have a folder here that's open to the public to watch, related to the Cabal. So they are in there. She is now dropping a new series called Fall of the Cabal, the sequel, and there are to be 17 pieces. She's just dropped the 5th one, and I am putting everything I find into that folder as well. But it was just so interesting to watch as she drops these. They seem to coincide, it's no surprise, with what is currently on our minds. So I believe that this was done very strategically, as all things are. Our president has, he's playing a 5 and 60 chess game with the strategic moves and the alliance that is working with him. I'm just so impressed and wish that I could even take a more active role. But I know that right now General Flynn has called for digital warriors, digital soldiers, so I am participating on that level, praying for the people involved, praying for the legal teams that are helping the president right now. I will call upon all of you listening, if you are a prayer warrior or even if you're not, continue to lift up the president and give thanks that the battle is won, that we stand against all principalities and powers who would seek to destroy or divert this mission. This mission is for our world, for the salvation, literally, of our freedom, and to maintain sovereignty. We, the people, must speak. So back to the bees. The notes I wrote earlier. The water, when I looked up the bees, the website talked about water actually as a way to getting rid of the bees, or that they will move somewhere if you put water on them. They will burrow and go somewhere else. But I found that as I was writing the notes, I realized that I know long ago from having people come and help the yard. The first place that I ever owned was a townhouse, and I had some people come and put organic things on the grass, and they would always aerate the ground, poking little holes. And I felt like that is one of the things that I was thinking about with the bees, that their little underground tunnels were also aerating the ground. The grass grows better, and I know worms are doing similar things. They're moving through the earth. I felt immediately that we were aerating and unsettling the earth right now with our digital warfare, the cyber war that's going on with the censorship and big tech. And I felt like the digital soldiers who are speaking the truth on our platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Parler, Gab, there's so many different platforms springing up. I couldn't even probably begin to name them all. But there is BitChute. YouTube has even been censoring people, so there's an offshoot of YouTube called New YouTube. There's many, many other platforms. So I felt like that was also going on, and I became a Christian as a very young girl. Sometimes my path has led me into some very dark places, but I know that the Lord has been with me, even when I chose a path that wasn't necessarily what most people would think of as the way the way they perceive my life should go. I know that the Lord has always walked with me and shown me very significant things. And when I was a very little girl, I was learning that the Holy Spirit is often associated with water. So the dew of Mount Hermon in the Psalms, I had been taught was a picture of the Holy Spirit, the dew coming down upon the heads. And so water has always been the washing of the word. There is reference to that. So there's a movie and a book that I just love called The Shack. I believe the author's name is William Paul Young, and they made a movie, and I truly thought it was one of the most beautiful things I had ever watched. And when I was reading the book, one of the things that truly spoke to my heart was Sariyu, who is the name that he named for the Holy Spirit. And one of the things she does, she's represented by a female in the book and also in the movie. She collects people's tears in perfume bottles, and she does use this later on in the book. I don't want to ruin it for you if you haven't seen it. It's truly one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. And I just, when I read The Shack, it reminded me of who I always believed God was. He was bigger than the box, the black and white box that many people put God in. He is boundless. He's has no beginning, no end. He is, all was and always will be. And so I was thinking that my dream, when I wrote the first note, they are helping to get the water to places. I felt almost like even in the quiet places, even the people who are just not, I won't use the word just, the praying people who do not raise their voices, who do not make a loud cry, they're quietly praying. The Holy Spirit is delivering moisture. He's delivering water throughout the earth, throughout the heavenlies. Those prayers are being heard. Those prayers are ministering to people. Those prayers are washing this nation. It is redeeming. We are standing in the gap. And it is God's intention that none should perish, but that all should come to know Him. And I truly believe that this is such a time as that our prayers and the things that we are doing, it is my prayer that my own words may be used to bring people to the light, to bring people to the knowledge, not just the knowledge, but to know the truth, because the truth shall set us free. And God says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. Christ was saying that in the New Testament. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And I believe that people who have poo-pooed this, or they've been in a religious setting that has been more about control than freedom, they haven't ever known the truth. And there is truth in the factual sense, there is truth in the spiritual sense. I believe this is all converging right now. There is another verse that I love in the New Testament, and it's in, I believe, 1 Corinthians 13. For now we see into the mirror darkly, but then face to face. Now, I have always had a thought about this verse for many years. When I look at this verse, I know from movies I've watched and things, the research I've done, in the occult, in voodoo, there is something to do with mirrors. And often mirrors are a way that you see demonic forces. So, I know in Luciferian and Satanic, those circles, there are reversals going on. So the mirror is the reverse image of ourselves. So when we look, we're actually seeing a reversal. So I believe that verse is very much what we are watching in this occult, this satanic, this Luciferianism going on. They believe that they are God. They believe they are worshiping the true God. But it is a reversal. And they do not know that they are expendable. They do not know that everything they're doing, that His ultimate purpose is to destroy them. They don't know that. They are blinded. So, it is my hope that they will come to see the truth. And the truth is standing face to face, not in the mirror, not doing the occult practices, because they do have a measure of power. It is not the power of God. God is always bigger than that. And that is something that I don't believe most Christians operate from. They operate out of fear most of the time, and that's how I was raised, in a place of fear. You know, it was just fear, fear, fear all the time. And I know that that's all they knew to teach us. But God has said He has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind, of wisdom. We have power. We have been given all things. We, He tells us, will do greater things than Him. And that was even the things that Jesus was doing, the miraculous things. We will be doing things greater than those. But we have to step into God's power. We have to renounce fear, because fear is of the enemy. Fear, I read a book once. The woman who wrote it does not know the Lord to my knowledge. However, what she said was the truth. There are only two sources, either love or fear. And when I know that my body is in fear, that's the only time I get sick. If I start noticing a twinge of sickness now, I immediately look to see, what am I in fear about? As soon as I identify it and squash it, just renounce it, I am no longer sick. And I kid you not. I truly believe that all dis-ease, and the way she spelled it was D-I-S-EASE. Disease is not something that I will own. It is only fear that is prompting my immune system to shut down. I truly believe that. There are many things that we're going to start having available to us from a healing standpoint. The evil people have withheld technology. They have withheld free energy. They have withheld healing. They have withheld things that would literally cure cancer. They have withheld all of that from us because they kept it for themselves. They've withheld, from what I understand, there were books stolen from the original Bible. They have withheld huge numbers of books and all sorts of knowledge from us because they wanted it all for themselves. So that is some of what is to come. We will be accessing beautiful, beautiful new things. This world is changing. Right now, we are at the precipice. I believe every person listening to this, if you know God, if you have a personal relationship with Christ, you have access to all of God's power, wisdom. Get into the Word, eat it like it's food, pray, meditate on the Word. Bring and release all that does not serve you. All the fear thoughts, renounce them. And I've done a lot of different types of work. There's lots of different things, but I literally have done different healing practices, and I found things that work for me very well. There obviously are many, many types of people, but we must renounce things that come up for us. Be thankful that it's coming up in your consciousness. Be thankful if something shows up in your body. You can take a look, see what the source of it is, and then renounce it. Just renounce it with ease and joy. Just and call forth the things that are a blessing, that are good. There's also another verse I love. Right now it's not in front of me, so I'm just remembering pieces of it, but whatever is good, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good report, keep your mind on these things. There's many, many other words in the verse, But it's such a beautiful verse. And if we keep our minds on those things, fixed above, that is where our consciousness is going to be. If we're constantly keeping our focus on what is wrong, all the fear thoughts, all the things that aren't going right, that's where our thoughts are, and that's what's going to manifest for us. So energetically, our energy, there's a verse that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if it's in us, inside us, it's going to come out of our mouth. So if we hear ourselves saying things we don't like, immediately grab that, renounce it, cancel it, yank it, almost make it look like a cartoon, like you're grabbing this bubble of whatever was just said. Yank it right out of your mouth, throw it away, burn it. And then speak the opposite and start putting those types of thoughts into your mind, into your consciousness. That's why it's important when we're watching things. Is this edifying? Is it creating fear? What is it creating? Be very, almost like, take a look at what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies. What are the ingredients? Is it mostly crap? Is it mostly artificial ingredients? Is it mostly preservatives? Is it mostly things that can't be pronounced? Well, take a look. Is it edifying my body? Should I be eating it? And just start asking your body, is this good for me? You'll know typically how you're digesting. Are you digesting things well? Is it causing problems? We can go back to a cleaner, simpler way of eating to help our bodies release toxins, toxic things for us. Toxic things in the body also cause toxic things in our minds. There have been chemicals that have been dropped on us that President Trump is also getting rid of because they are poisons, and that is something else. The shadow government has been trying to do. The people who have been ruling us have been trying to poison us in various ways. Their vaccines were filled with poisons, things that were making us sicker, things in our food that are making us sicker. Trump and the team has stopped that. They are taking us out of bondage, out of this slavery that was upon us, and they are bringing us to a new place. Let us rise up. Let us pray for this legal transition team, this legal team who is supporting President Trump and supporting us, we the people, because our voices were stolen in this election. They tried to defraud us. They have committed treason. They have committed sedition. The media has been poisoning us with propaganda that is lies, lie upon lie upon lie. Hollywood has been working with the CIA to poison our minds. They have been dropping in truth, but they make it look like it's fiction. So when I've been watching things over the years, I can see that this is going on and it's not fictional. And I have been watching the mind control it's actually in the plot lines. So they have been controlling us with fear. Some people would call it fear porn, and I agree with that. It creates, the more we watch, the more it creates the fear. I stopped watching the news years ago because energetically it was having an effect on my body that was evil. I could feel that it was not good for me, so energetically I wanted that feeling gone. I stopped watching it. When this whole thing with the coronavirus came out, I absolutely could not believe it was so disgusting to watch what they were doing to President Trump, and I could not believe what the late night talk hosts were doing. I could not believe the bashing, the disrespect, the level of horrifying things that I was watching. I couldn't believe it. I knew he must be really a threat for them to go to the level that they have taken this. This has gone to exponential levels of ridiculousness in the media. Every single mainstream media. Now, originally Fox was not doing that. However, many of them turned. So there are a number of independent journalists who I watched. I've probably looked at over 400 different sources. I sort of follow a few, but there is so much information that I could be working 24/7 and not see everything going on. It's just unbelievable. But I would encourage all of you listening, stop listening to the mainstream media, and that is the big sources that are currently on television: ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, Fox News. Sometimes we'll have pieces and reporters who are actually searching for the truth. Most of them are working on the Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, that is sent to us directly from the CIA to poison and propagandize the media so that what you're hearing is what they want you to believe. It is not the truth. It is skewed. They have been on a campaign to destroy our president, to destroy his reputation, to discredit him, to make him look weak, to make him look impotent, to make him look like an idiot. He is anything but that. He is probably one of the most gifted men on the planet. And I've heard people say that there are going to be books written about this time in history, and people will probably, for the next 1,000 years, be trying to figure out how he did what he did. He is brilliant. He is genius level. Every single thing he does is for a reason. If he makes a spelling mistake, it is a code. If he... I laugh because I just watch the strategic things that are being done. Now, he is surrounded by a team who have been really looking at the corruption in this United States for so long, but the corruption is not just here, it is worldwide. Do you know that all the other nations on the planet are more excited about Donald Trump than the American people? They see what he is doing, and they want him running their countries or helping them. They're reaching out from all over the world, and the media here has been poisoning the American people so badly that they believe that he is evil. He is the exact opposite. There are so many things going on behind the scenes that are so truly exciting, and I just want to publicly say I stand with the president. I am excited totally by what he is doing, and I know that he has won. He has the victory, and the victory belongs to the people, because we will be free with Donald Trump and the team that he is working with. The strategic people in the background who have to remain quiet for purposes of security. I just want to acknowledge you as well. We do not have any idea the risks that you have taken on our behalf. I know that some of you will never be able to step forward, but I am truly so grateful to the things that you are doing. I know there are people in the heavenlies. There are people who have been sent to help us. There have been people who are working with us that will come to light. So I want to acknowledge all of you. The First Lady, I want to thank you for standing beside your husband, for helping to guide us in gracious and quiet ways. What an important thing that you are doing in this country. I also want to thank the First Family, the team around the president, the Secret Service, the team in the White House, the people who are patriots, who are loyal, who have the country's best at heart. The legal teams, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, you have been the president's friend for many, many years, and I'm so excited. I happen to believe that JFK Jr. is alive. and that he will be revealing himself at some point. I just want to thank you and acknowledge all that you have done in the background all these years, and that your mission, continuing to do what your father wanted you to do. I am so thankful that President Trump has been your friend. I'm so excited that there are other people in quietly who have taken kind of a back seat for security reasons, for protection reasons, that those people may eventually step forward as well. I'm really excited and looking forward to that. And I just want to thank you. I have kind of wanted to start a channel for a long time, but I disengaged the camera. I literally got rid of the software on my laptop. I have no way to broadcast from a camera standpoint. So I thought I'm going to try this and see if I can get it up onto this channel. And I just want to wish you all, this is a beautiful season. We are truly at a time in history. It is great to be alive, and most people don't have any idea what's going on. They're feeling very uncomfortable. But you know, when you're processing a rock tumbler, I don't know if any of you had the chance to see this, but when I was a kid in Wyoming, we didn't own one, but you could have a rock polisher. You would throw in the rocks and it would smooth them out and turn them into these really amazing looking rocks. So it would chip away all the rough edges. So, and that's kind of what the purifying, the gold, the silver, and the precious stones, I think it talks about that in the Bible. I think right now we are in a refining phase, and the rough edges are coming off. All of the dirt and things that are not pure, not the gold, diamonds, anything that is not one of the precious stones is going away. And that includes the people in the government. That includes the people in our local governments. That includes the people in the shadow government. That includes the families who have been stealing from us, trading our birth certificates like chattel on the stock market. All these things that have been done to steal from us, steal identities, steal wealth, steal taxes. All of that is going to change. I'm very excited, and I'll look forward to doing another installment soon. I love you. And take heart. The best is yet to come. Believe the president when he says, trust the plan, the best is yet to come. You can't even imagine the amazing new things coming.